The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist is a publication founded by Manhattan Project scientists. They understood that the technology that they had just created, the new age that they had really started, would necessitate a broad public conversation about the military, political, scientific, ethical issues that this new technology had created.
I used to think about the bulletin as, because of the name of atomic scientists, it was about nuclear war. But since 2007, the bulletin has included climate change as a threat to our well-being.
Look at what happened with COVID. That's not something anybody expected to happen, and it happened and is continuing to happen. We have not eliminated COVID from our world. So we don't have a choice at the bulletin but to include the biological risk in our calculus, or the doomsday clock.
The doomsday clock symbolizes the risk to humanity from the collection of dangerous technologies and activities that humans are responsible for.
Using the clock, the bulletin's able to inform the public about the nature of the threats facing humanity and to encourage them to actually get more involved, to take action, and to be aware of whether or not we're moving closer to or farther away from our own destruction.
Last year, the bulletin set the doomsday clock at 89 seconds to midnight, the closest to disaster it's ever been. So now the question is, how does this year compare to last year?
So the deliberations of the Science and Security Board that set the doomsday clock every year are pretty intense. In the past, it's often been quite complicated and hard to come up with the movement of the clock in a defined time. We didn't have those challenges this year.
In every area, we have failed to take the steps that are necessary to reduce risks, and there are new developments in every area that make the risks greater.
In nuclear, we are seeing leaders across the globe with nuclear weapons accelerate their development of new weapons, talk about arms racing and trying to outdo the other, the possibility of resuming nuclear testing, deploying new, more dangerous types of nuclear weapons, and active conflicts among and between nuclear states and in regions of nuclear tension. You have now many countries around the world investing tens of billions of dollars to modernize and diversify their nuclear arsenals. You're seeing the leaders of those countries talk more willingly about the utility of nuclear weapons, not just in a political sense. Can we use our nuclear weapons to deter our adversary, or can we use our nuclear capability to coerce our competitors into certain actions, but to actually use nuclear weapons on the battlefield, as Russia has threatened to do, as Pakistani officials have threatened to do. And you see what we refer to as arms race instability. And this is how we ended up with over 70,000 nuclear weapons between the United States and Soviet Union during the Cold War. The decline has stopped, and we're now seeing the growth begin again, and the potential for a worldwide arms race is upon us. In 9 days, the last remaining agreement between the United States and Russia that limits the number of strategic nuclear weapons they can each possess and deploy will expire, and there is no agreement to replace it. So for the first time in generations, both of these countries will be free to deploy as many nuclear weapons as they want or believe they need. That is the fundamental spark for what could be a nuclear calamity.
Every year the fever goes up. Every year we break another record. The warmest 10 years are in the last 10 years. There's a metabolism to the planet, the ecosystems, the oceans. There's a whole metabolism. And the fever, that's warming temperature, is damaging everything. It's influencing everything. Since the 1800s, since the Industrial Revolution, we can document the increase in temperature around the world. And now we have satellites that monitor the ecosystems, the oceans. But with what is happening now, and why I'm so worried, is that I feel like my fever is going to put me close to the ICU. And the monitoring devices are going away.
The initial focus of the bulletin was the nuclear threat, that later expanded to include the threat from climate change, And then we realized that there were other areas of emerging technology that could, if not properly managed, pose a threat to the survival of humanity, that could pose the risk of catastrophe. Artificial intelligence, like large language models, have become increasingly powerful and now can create photos, videos that look just like the real thing and can be used to spread disinformation very effectively. We've seen this even from President Trump using such videos to try to persuade people that things have happened that have not happened, that there are perhaps riots in a location or acts of war that aren't fake. A particular concern I have is placing weapons in space as part of the President Trump's proposed Golden Dome, which has called for the placing of missile defense interceptors in space. And while those would not be probably useful in protecting us against nuclear attack, they would be able to be used against other objects in space, and this could trigger a competition with Russia and China to place their weapons in space and pose the possibility of a war in space.
AI and bio are not necessarily things that if they came together, they would be horrible and terrible and negative. We can use AI to help us respond better, be more efficient, have a better idea of what do we have. We've seen cuts, massive cuts by this administration to preparedness activities. But what that's done then is that it has reduced our overall preparedness. We are not going to be able to be as effective and as efficient in responding as a result. It's not a reasonable situation to be in because we have not eliminated disease, we have not eliminated accidents, we haven't eliminated all these things that we need to respond to. We're all interdependent now in this world. If we don't have good public health in one country, it affects the next country, the ones surrounding, but also the countries elsewhere that were dependent on the first country for funding, for human resources, for expertise, and so forth. This is a global issue.
So overall, 2025 has been a pretty bleak picture in terms of advancing existential risks. I would say the one silver lining is I think people are starting to re-engage every time we've been able to reduce threats, existential threats to humanity. It's because of the public pressure that was created on policymakers, on local elected leaders, on the world in general to say, we do not accept this.
The average citizen can do more than just vote. They can actually be informed about the threats that they face and talk with their neighbors, their relatives, their friends in their communities about these risks. And just showing up at a political meeting of a senator or congressman can actually drive policy. If they recognize that there's a political interest in their districts, that drives action.
You have to empower the people to say, yes, this is a challenging opportunity, and this is what, by working together, we can do something.
And just imagine what would happen if the whole world, all of our citizens, all throughout the world, were actually to take up the issue of turning back the clock. What would happen? I can't imagine a situation in which that enormous group of people would somehow be ineffectual.
The doomsday clock is really a metaphor for the amount of danger that we're in. It's pointing to the urgency of the threats all around us, but it's also a call to action. I actually see it as a positive symbol insofar as we have time left to fix the problems that we ourselves have created by working together, by creating the necessary political will and the scientific analysis that will help us save ourselves, for lack of a better term, from ourselves. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Alexandra Bell, and I am the President and CEO of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. It is the determination of the Bulletin's Science and Security Board that humanity has not made sufficient progress on the existential risks that endanger us all. We thus move the clock forward. The doomsday clock is a tool for communicating how close we are to destroying the world with technologies of our own making. The risks we face from nuclear weapons, climate change, and disruptive technologies are all growing. Every second counts, and we are running out of time. It is a hard truth, but this is our reality. It is now 85 seconds to midnight. This is the closest the world has ever been to midnight.